I'm Adrienne Pasquarelli, Special Projects Editor and Senior Reporter at Ad Age, and welcome to another edition of the Marketer's Brief podcast, our weekly discussion about marketing news and trends that have the industry buzzing. In recent years, more and more brands have taken some aspects of creative advertising in-house, as they try to be more nimble and responsive to cultural moments and social media, and save costs at the same time. Today, we'll be talking with Kelly Warkentien, Vice President and Creative Director at Wolverine Worldwide, the owner of footwear brands such as Merrell and Saucony. She'll talk about the company's in-house creative and PR agency and how it is meeting the needs of each individual brand in the Wolverine Worldwide portfolio. Now here's my conversation with Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, great to see you.
So tell me a little bit about how long you've worked at Wolverine.
I have been with Wolverine Worldwide for a little over 3 years.
And I know that during that time, you guys have really bolstered your internal agency and kind of how it interacts with each brand within the Wolverine portfolio. Can you tell us a little bit about that agency, the studio, how it works?
Yeah, so when I joined Wolverine Worldwide, I had previously been agency side. So the move to brand side, this was really my first experience, and I was looking for something that was brand side, and Merrell happened to be the first opportunity for me. And I was really brought in to build up the in-house agency creative team for Merrell and for Chaco, as well as build up our production studio on campus. We started out as a team of 2 and quickly became a team of 9. Which happened relatively quickly and was really exciting. We really found ourselves moving quickly from predominantly handling resizes and maybe a couple of briefs in-house to spearheading the rebrand of Merrell, as well as quickly turning into the team that handled most of our creative briefs. So that was a very exciting time.
So when you say you started with the Merrell brand, now do you work on other brands as well under Wolverine Worldwide, or is it still primarily just the Merrell?
We started out with Merrell and Chaco, sort of piloting this in-house agency. We knew that was the way the world was tending to move with the development of in-house agencies. So we used that as the pilot and then transitioned over the past few months to expanding that to what we're calling the agency, which now supports all of the Wolverine Worldwide portfolio.
And how big is that portfolio? Remind me again.
We are a handful of brands: Merrell, Chaco, Saucony, Wolverine, Bates, High Test, to name a few. So we have quite a spectrum of brands and the types of consumers that we're reaching.
That is quite a lot of different types of creative that you're putting out. Tell us exactly what the agency is responsible for doing. What type of work within those brands?
Yeah, we're really focused on full service. So we see ourselves as supporting a 360-degree business, 365 days a year. The agency is responsible primarily for the creative. We also have PR capabilities as well, which is run by Megan McCarl. So we're really made up of 2 teams. From the creative side, we have dedicated teams focusing on brand creative, digital creative, as well as production services. And then from the PR side, they're a full service internal PR agency, and they support all of our brands and as well as our external agencies.
So you do work a little bit with external shops as well, is that right?
Yes, but it's really on a minimal level. We're really looking to be the team that elevates our brands. And with this new process in place, we're looking to eliminate our dependency on external agencies to foster a more streamlined and cost-effective approach to our creative development.
Why is that? Tell us about some of the benefits of having this internal agency.
Yeah, I think the main benefit that I can say from being an agency creative to now being brand side is you're incredibly immersed in the work and the consumer and the team who's driving the briefs, which I can't say you're as close to when you're agency side. So there's nothing as valuable as being able to speak one-on-one with the CMO or the marketing teams or even the product development teams to really understand the business and what the goals are that can then lead to sharper creative work.
And you mentioned 9 people. That seems like not a very high number for the vast expanse of creative that you guys are putting out. Is it still 9 that handles both creative and PR? And then are there different teams within that number that work on the different brands?
So 9 was only for Merrell. So when I started with Merrell, it was myself and a graphic designer, and we quickly ramped up to 9 people with some freelance support as well. Beyond that, for the agency, we are between 40 to 50 team members.
That makes more sense.
Sorry if that was confusing.
I'm still very impressed. That's great. And so within that team, is everyone, this week I might be working on Merrell, this week I might be working on Sperry. Is that how it works, or is there kind of within that each there are little groups within that?
Yeah, so I think that's another really amazing benefit, particularly for the creatives, is now they are not so specific to one brand and dedicated to one brand only. They can work across multiple brands. So for the most part, each of the creative teams are dedicated to a brand. We call it the 80-20 model. So 80% of each creative is dedicated to one specific brand, but they have 20% to flex to get experience on other brands, help out with other brands when there's a creative capacity issue that may arise. But really, it keeps the work fresh. It keeps the creatives engaged and inspired.
Right, because I know that is one criticism of internal agencies, is that the work could be stale because the creatives get sick of having kind of similar briefs over and over again.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So this mitigates some of that.
What about the types of consumers that you're reaching? All the brands are so different in terms of, who they're appealing to, what types of consumers are shopping for that kind of footwear. How do you distinguish, or tell me about some of the campaigns that you guys have done that are targeting different demographics?
Yeah, so I would say Merrell is a great example. Merrell is focused on a very specific consumer set within the outdoor category. And then when you have Sweaty Betty is focused on an entirely different consumer set. So again, it's really helpful to have an in-house consumer insights team that's part of the collective, which the agency folds up into, to be super close to the consumer, as well as to trends and insights that can then inform the briefs and then inform the work that we're doing from a creative perspective.
And what's an example of a recent campaign that you guys created 100% internally that kind of exemplifies the agility that you have from an in-house shop?
Yeah. So again, I'll use Merrell since I'm the most familiar at this point with Merrell. Merrell was looking to gain credibility in the trail running space. Merrell is the #1 hiking brand in the world, and we wanted to make sure that we could gain and earn that credibility in the trail running space against some of the competitors who were starting to devote more time and energy into the space. So we came out with a campaign titled Same as Boring. And we really wanted to get into the trail runners' mindset. So typically trail runners tend to prefer the trail over the road because it's a new experience every time they hit the trail. It could be the same trail that they're hitting time and time again, but every time your foot hits that trail, it's a different experience because nature is always evolving and changing. So we really tapped into that with this notion of same as boring. And we came out with a campaign, intended it to be a multi-year campaign. So it's in year 2 right now. And we've won a couple of awards, which was really, really important and exciting for us, because I think another trope of in-house agencies is that sometimes the creative isn't as good as what you might get at an external creative partner. So we're really proud to be able to bring home some awards for that work.
Yeah, that must add a lot of credibility to the work you guys are doing. Where did that campaign run? What types of channels are you leaning into?
Yeah, we are leaning into CRTV as well as social. That could be Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, as well as our own channels.
Are you finding that certain brands are performing better on different marketing channels? Like maybe does the Sweaty Betty work on TikTok more so than like Merrell might work on TikTok or something like that?
Yeah, I think Chaco is a great example because Chaco has a very engaged and, dare I say, passionate audience. They refer to themselves, and we refer to them as Chaco Nation. They are definitely engaged in social when it comes to Chaco. So we see a lot of comments, a lot of likes, a lot of shares whenever anything is posted for Chaco.
Kind of overall, are you seeing more brands adopt the in-house strategy?
Yeah, I think as we were developing this in-house agency model, we relied on a lot of research into what brands were doing it well, what learnings there were, what models there were, kind of turning the org inside out and reshaping it again. And I think we'll continue to evolve because the in-house agency model is sort of new, at least with the way that we're currently looking at it. I think 10 plus years ago, people looked at in-house agencies as more production artists, teams who would take external creative partner work and reshape it and resize it, reformat it. And I don't think that's the case anymore. So I do feel we're at the forefront of what is becoming a really cool opportunity for Wolverine Worldwide.
You mentioned that you researched other places that are doing it well. What are some brands that you think have performed well from or benefited from having an in-house agency?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate to have worked with some really amazing people in my past life. So I relied on Merrell from DoorDash, who's leading their in-house agency. They're doing a phenomenal job. Also winning I don't think their shelves can contain the amount of awards that they're bringing home. So she was really helpful in just helping me understand what's working for them, how we might be able to apply some of their philosophies towards how we're shaping our team. I think Amazon is doing a great job as well. And then we have a good partnership with the ANA. So I sit in on some of those committees, and they have a lot of data that they were able to share as part of that.
Yeah, they've been tracking the trend closely. I've written about several of their reports over the years.
I'll say one last thing to that. Internally, we made sure as we were building this model and this proposal, beyond Merrell and expanding it to the other brands, we made sure to stay close with the other marketing leads and the other brands to make sure that their needs would be met as we established this.
Is there a CMO within each brand then that the collective works or the agency works with them?
Yeah, so we're close with each of the marketing leads. The larger brands have CMOs, and then the other brands have marketing leads. So we stay close with them, especially when we think about what the briefs could look like, how the work is shaping up, are their needs being met from a staffing point of view, and just how can we begin to shape the relationship and build it so while each of the brands are so unique, everyone still feels supported.
Are there any categories or types of companies where you think having an internal agency might not work as well?
Oh, that's a great question. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I've only been at Wolverine Worldwide from an in-house perspective, and I just see the excitement and the trust that has been instilled in me and our team that I think any brand could benefit from an in-house agency. I can't see a negative to having one.
What about 2024? Now that we are a few weeks into it, what's ahead on your priority list for the year and for growth opportunities?
Yeah, the priority list for me is number one, starting to get more visibility into each of the brands, particularly from the creative brief. I think each brand has sort of operated in its own capacity over the past couple of years, at least since I've been with the company for the last couple of years. And I think the brief and being a strong and sharp brief just leads to better and better work. So I think even if we feel we have the most perfect briefing structure, continuing to dissect that and shape it and craft it, just from now through the years to come, will always net better work and more alignment out of the gate. And then I think also just building our teams and continuing to assess the capabilities that we have against the needs that we have for the brands to make sure that we're building to the best that the brands need.
When you research try to find consumer insights, is that research being done internally as well, or do you partner with survey companies and market research?
Yeah, that's being done internally as part of the collective. Our brand building model is to be consumer obsessed. And I think that our insights and innovation team is at the forefront of that. And they're inputting into briefs, they're inputting into the work. We definitely see them as partners in developing the work. So it's a really important part of the process.
And what about for the next campaign? Are there any consumer insights that are driving that, or what can we look out for? Is there a hint that you can give us about something interesting you've noticed about your shoppers that might be driving new creative?
Yeah, we have a really exciting campaign coming out for Merrell in the hike space. And we're really pushing the boundaries of what it means to be a hiker or where it even means to go on a hike. So I think that's probably as much as I can say about the campaign until it launches. It launches in April, but we're really excited about that work and sharing it with everybody.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I did want to ask you about one of the biggest marketing events happening in a few weeks, and that's the Super Bowl, of course, just around the corner. Do any of the Wolverine Worldwide brands have plans to air a TV spot or do any kind of activation around the Super Bowl?
Not currently that I'm aware of, although we'll definitely have our listening ears on. I think there's always an opportunity to insert yourself in the conversation, even if you haven't bought time in the commercials. But I always enjoy watching the commercials.
So you guys will be watching and listening on social, tuning in on all the channels.
Yes,
social channels.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think Oreo did it best.
Right? That's the one to live up to.
Yeah, that's the one to live up to. So every opportunity is an opportunity to insert yourself into the conversation. So you just have to do it at the right time with the right creative.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
That was Kelly Warkentien, Vice President and Creative Director at Wolverine Worldwide, and I'm Adrienne Pasquarelli, Special Projects Editor and Senior Reporter at Ad Age. I'd like to thank our producer, Lauren Ciardio, and invite you to subscribe to the Marketer's Brief podcast on your favorite player. We promise to keep it brief or at least short enough for your morning coffee. Thanks for tuning in.